Thank you so much. That was fantastic, informative, and exactly what we needed. Another thing that people need is to bring their dogs to work. That's my thing. I wish I could bring all 4 of my Boston Terriers to work, but there is somebody who actually gets that chance. It's World Dog Day today. We're celebrating. Yay! And naturally, we invited our favorite animal behaviorist, Karis Nafti, to help us understand our dogs and develop better relationships with our furry companions. And today, we are tackling the most fundamental but basic piece of discipline that has pretty much exhausted dog owners for centuries. Now, we are going to teach our dogs to listen when we ask them to come here. It's as simple as that. And I know it may seem easy, but sometimes humans don't even get that right. Yeah.
Half of the time. I have a very silly question to ask you. How do you know if your dog is English speaking? Because what if I said kom hier so, like kom hier, and he doesn't respond? Because naturally that is the first thing you teach your dog. It's a basic skill. Come here. But what if your dog is maybe Afrikaans?
Exactly. Or German or French, or I have an American accent. I mean, it's very complicated. So dogs will learn any word that you teach them.
Yeah.
So my favorite silly thing to tell people is dogs don't speak English. They're not born speaking any particular language. So you could teach them, you could make them bilingual. You could teach them different words for different things. I knew one man who had 2 dogs, and one dog was trained in Afrikaans and one was trained in English, so he could do different things with them at the same time. So it just depends on what your dog learns and how you choose to teach them which words.
But I'm also sure it's got to do with your body language, because obviously Sam will just obviously feed off my energy of how I respond to him, or call him like, Sam, come here. No?
Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
So here's a funny thing. I taught my dog Hlala Phansi, Xhosa, for like sit down, and they listen to me. But obviously it's when I do the hand gesture, that's what they're actually responding to. But I still think that my dogs have a bit of language in them as well, touch of Spanish as well. But who knows? But just to start things off, I mean, it's one of those basic principles. But I mean, how do you get started in getting a dog to respond to you calling them and having them come to you? Because dogs are all over the place sometimes. They need to have a prompt. And sometimes when they're busy, they don't exactly see you. So they need an audio prompt.
Yeah.
How do we get that started?
So the main thing I want everybody watching today to learn is you have to teach your dogs to come when they're called.
Okay.
They're not born doing it. They don't do it automatically. And just because... what have you got to say? It's World Dog Day. Sam has got lots of things to say.
For dogs, it's World Human Day.
It is World Human Day, yeah. So you have to practice this, and you have to practice first at home.
Yes.
Because the most common mistake, or a common mistake that people make, is they don't bother using the word come until they're outside and their dog is distracted by the squirrels and the smells and the other people, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to practice first in a quiet place to teach it as a skill, and then take that understanding to more distracting places.
But I'm sure there's so many mistakes that we make as humans because we're just trying to get them to do what we're saying. What are some of those mistakes that we make when we want our dogs just to listen to us?
So the most common mistake, you remember you said earlier about body language?
Yes.
The most common mistake people make is if their dogs don't come the first time they call them, they shout. Come here!
We've heard. Come here, sir!
Come here, sir! I'm serious. I need you to take me serious. And as they shout, people tend to get angry. And their body language to a dog is saying, oh, you should stay away. So if you get angry if your dog isn't coming when called, everything in your body language is saying, stay away from me. And that's likely what they'll do. So if your dog, first of all, doesn't listen the first time, you have to become more friendly and more interesting, not threatening, because it doesn't work.
Why does this make me think of my son right now? I know I shouldn't be comparing you
I was comparing too. Because you can call as often as you want, but once the fortnight's on, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
You know? I almost like need to give them a treat. But let's talk about how to actually get it done. Because I'm noticing something. You have a very long leash.
I have a very long leash today, yes. And the reason I have this very long leash today is this is a wonderful tool for teaching a dog to come if they don't know how to do it. So I think of this as like training wheels on a bike. You know, you're not quite ready to be on a bike. So if your dog is not quite trustworthy off the leash, and as they won't come back to you, maybe they're distracted. If you get a long leash like this, nice and loose, you can let your dog be loose at the park, but you can still get hold of them. And then what you do is you take their food, and you have to practice over and over calling them to you for a reward. So I have got some treats here, which Sam, magic, you can smell. And what I'm going to do, and you can do this, start in your living room and do it at the park. I'm first going to throw a treat away from me, so Sam goes away from me to find the treat. Smelling. And then when he's at a distance, then I'm going to say, Sam, come. Now, obviously, that's 2 steps away, but that's still good. He's still coming back when I call. So
Indeed.
you can imagine in your living room, in your lounge, you throw the treat across the lounge so your dog runs 10 steps away. Hey, go find it. The dogs love this. Oh, Sam. Okay, Sam, come. And if you practice this 50 times a day, you will have a dog that is reliable when they're called. Okay, you cannot do this once and think the dogs have it cracked. It doesn't work like that. So practice inside, practice outside, practice in your lounge, practice in the afternoon, and you can just take your dog's normal meals. You don't have to use, I'm using special treats here because it's distracting. We're in a studio.
Yes.
But at home, rather than just putting your dog's food for free, I say don't ever feed your dogs for free. Make them work for it. So don't put the food down for free. They're going to eat it anyway. Use it as training currency. So throw a treat away, dog runs, Rover, come, and they come back to you.
Yes.
Over and over and over. And then when you're outside and you use the word, Rover, come, then they have a happy association with it and they understand because they've done it over and over and over and over and over. So that is the first basic tip for anyone with a new dog, anyone with a puppy, to do this as often as they can with the normal meals.
I have a lot of
that.
questions. I still have a lot of questions.
I know why. Because this works, for kids too. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Maybe
And
I'm
adults,
not.
maybe adults, not
No,
adults.
adults need it too. But if you do have any questions whatsoever about your dog, then please ask them on our Facebook post, because after this little break that we'll have for you, Karis will join us again to answer as many as she can. And if you just want to share a cute photo of your dog as well, please do, because it is World Dog Day. Thank you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Finally, we get to.
I had to bring him in.
Gee whiz, I feel like we haven't seen each other the whole show. But so glad to be joining this conversation because we love our pups, and we are back with Karis Nafti, who is here to answer all of your dog questions on World Dog Day. It's a big day, man.
It is a big day. It is. Sam almost brought his tux today, but he left it at home.
Oh, he looks
Yeah.
fantastic, man. His spot looks extra spotty.
Extra round. Yes, the ears are extra pointy.
His
yes.
smile seems wider than usual. Absolutely awesome. But a fun day to come to terms with our quirky, crazy little dogs, because they are. They brighten up our life, but they can have some behavioral kind of elements that do confound us.
And we got some questions that came through on social media. Before we get there, just to clarify the long leash, I know you wanted to answer that in its entirety.
Yeah.
So once we do the process of throwing the treat further and further and doing that 50 times and practicing, the long leash obviously helps to coax the dog back, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if you're going outside, like if you're in a park,
Yes.
and you don't really trust your dog yet, what you can do is with a long line, the dog still feels free, they're still running, but if they get a little distracted, you can just pull them a little bit. So in this sense, they're free, but you can still catch them very easily. So it's a good in-between step. Or if you go to a place that's like brand new and lots of smells, just take your long line, make sure your dog's listening, and then they're connected. It's a very helpful tool between being loose and being on a
nice
short
training
lead.
wheels, if you will.
Training
Yeah.
wheels, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Perfect. All right, questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, first one that's come through. Let's take a look at this. It says, all right, so my fur baby is 4 months old. He is a crossbreed between a pit bull and a Labrador. And finally, he is a fast water and swallow his food.
Chew.
Yes, definitely, and does not chew it. He was vomiting after his 12th week of vaccine, of course, but they said it was some bacterial infection. However, he eats well, 2.5 cups of food daily, dry and wet, but he doesn't seem to be picking up weight. Lost weight 4.5 kilograms a month ago. Is that actually normal?
Okay, so this is actually a really good question because people
Yes.
bring this up a lot. How much do you feed your dog? So a pit bull cross Labrador is going to be a big dog.
Yeah.
So I'm not a vet. So the first thing I would say to this person is maybe just check with your vet. But what people forget is you have to up puppies' food all the time. They grow
They
all
grow
the
so
time.
quickly
They
as
grow
well,
so quickly.
yeah.
So imagine like with a human toddler, you'd feed a 1-year-old this much food and you feed a 3- and 4-year-old a lot more food.
Yeah.
So most likely this person just needs to up their dog's food quite a bit more so that the puppy is picking up weight.
Beautiful.
I love that. We've had lots of really cute dog
Yep.
pictures coming through, so thank you so much for that. Nika saying, after my dog Chester passed away 6 years ago, I feel it's so hard to get another dog. I had him for 10 years. Oh, I know that feeling. I absolutely know that feeling, but it does help to get a fresh energy into that space. So I would suggest just take that leap.
And what I would suggest is if you have a dog that you have loved, if it's been like the best dog ever and you loved it, I wouldn't necessarily get the same breed. Because sometimes there's a sense of wanting to replicate. I want a dog exactly like my last dog. And you never get
Yeah.
two dogs the same, even if it's from the same breeder, the same parents, whatever it
Yeah.
is. So if you are going to get a new dog, get something very different so that you don't bring in any expectations about what that dog's going to be like. That's what I always suggest.
It's a beautiful advice. Now, I know you're not a vet, but you work with vets quite often, and there was a massive fake news drive around coronavirus and pets. And Josephine actually asked now, can my dog get coronavirus?
Yeah, as far as I know, no, they can't. But again, I'm not a vet, so
Yeah.
I'm not a medical person, so I would just check with it. It's not something that I have.
By now, I think it would have been a
I
very
think it
well
would have.
publicized,
Yes.
Yes.
real news story, not a fake news
Yeah,
story.
yeah, exactly.
Prince coming in with this one clearly got a conundrum. Morning, guys. My brother's dog eats and sleeps a lot, is not active enough. What can I do with this little bossy, lazy one?
Now, I'm very curious.
Losing the psychological bat. Is he talking about the brother or the dog?
That's a good
you
question.
think?
And I must tell you, I've never met a bossy, lazy dog. Lazy dogs just chill. So it makes I'm a little confused by bossy and lazy because
Yeah.
bossy is always energetic. So the first thing is if there's actually a problem, do have it checked out by a vet.
Okay.
But if the dog is just a really chilled out, easygoing dog, geez, count your blessings. You don't have to walk it too much. You can keep it nice and easy. All you can maybe do is just find out if there's some toys the dogs like, try some different activities, driving to new places, stuff like that.
How
Finding
much
a rug
should
to
a dog
scratch
be
on.
sleeping? Buy yourself this carpet and guarantee the dog
Sure.
will
Yeah.
go crazy
Yeah.
for it. How long? Because I know cats, obviously, being feline, they sleep like the vast majority of their lives, and then they let all of that energy out in like lightning
20,
bursts.
yeah, yes.
Dogs slow burn
Yes.
more often, but different breeds obviously need different exercise. But how
Yes.
much should your dog be sleeping?
Dogs actually sleep a lot, so it's a good test to know if they are getting enough exercise. Because if they're getting enough exercise, they should sleep like between 12 and 15 hours a day. That's normal for a dog. If you have a dog that doesn't sleep at all, if they're pacing all day long and if they just simply don't sit down and they don't settle, they're probably not getting enough exercise in the morning. So a lot of dogs need exercise in the morning. Otherwise, they'll just spend all day being antsy.
Yeah.
So it's a good...
Same as us, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's been such an informative session with you. Thank you so much. And it's great to know that there are ways to get the basics of actually getting your dog to come to you. And so, Karis, as always, you're amazing. And happy World Dog Day.
Happy World
Every
Dog
dog
Day.
has his day.
Every
Yes,
dog
it's
has
that
its day. Yes.
Exactly. And you know that your dog could be the architect of your happiness. Just make sure.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you. You're welcome. And turn it up
use that.
louder on your subwoofer. And make sure that you know and that everybody around you, you got a dog, celebrate them today. Give them a little extra treat just to make sure that they are celebrated. They are beautiful animals. And I think that we need
Adults.
a treat as well. In
Yeah.
fact, these two lovely adults in the kitchen.